Well, as a third generation Lebanese American, I think it's important to know that Vice President Harris will have the deepest commitment to Lebanon. We obviously need a ceasefire as soon as possible, but the ceasefire has to include a long term sustainability plan for permanent calm on the border along the lines of 1701. The vice president and her team understand that. I don't know what former President Trump understands. I do know that he's never been supportive of humanitarian aid, which we need to get to Lebanon immediately to help with those who have been displaced. We're the largest donor to Lebanon, and there's a big difference between Vice President Harris's positions and former President Trump. He literally called for a Muslim ban when he was president. He does not believe in humanitarian aid. And I certainly would expect him not to be supportive of the millions and millions of dollars that we've given to the Lebanese armed forces, the Lebanese LAF, which has sustained them and which is a bright hope for the future. I do think it's definitely a priority for the Harris group. They've talked to the leaders in the Lebanese community about it. They're very sophisticated and they understand what kind of requests that we've made, including humanitarian aid, an immediate ceasefire, the implementation, something along the lines of 1701. And longtime support for the LAF. Many of the people in the Harris group have also been strong supporters of the monies that the United States has given to the American University of Beirut and the Lebanese American University. So we've had pretty sophisticated discussions. I don't know what the Trump people think. They're so ethnocentric. They're anti-immigration. They want to pull the United States out of places like Ukraine. So it's hard to tell what their Middle East policy would be, other than they don't want to spend any money with anyone, and they don't want to make those kinds of commitments. And they're not big fans of the UN or of the role of the UN. Yeah, a short paragraph. Yeah. The shortest letter I've ever seen any politician sent. So what does it mean? If we know his history, he has not been supportive. And more importantly, he just, by calling for a Muslim ban, by being anti-immigration, my grandparents would have never been able to come to the United States if Donald Trump was president during that time. And future Lebanese that want to migrate back and forth will have a very difficult time, in my judgment, if we don't elect Vice President Harris. I think our best chance for the future of Lebanon, and Lebanon needs to do some things. Lebanon obviously needs to pick a president to give the international community some confidence in the leadership there. But, I don't know whether President Trump even knows what the Hezbollah is in Lebanon. And I would not count on him, because we haven't been able to count on him in the past. But I do have great faith in Vice President Harris. I know her. The leaders of the Lebanese American community here have had conversations about what our expectations are, and we've gotten a very warm response. Yeah, and there always have been in these immigrant communities a split between the two. My family was Republican. Most Lebanese Americans who came at the turn of the last century, many of them are Republicans because they're small business people, and they've always associated with the Republican Party. but my family has left the Republican Party because of President Trump's dominance and anti-immigration policies and what he says about immigrants and about the Muslim ban, even though we're Maronite Christians. We care about the entire community. First of all, she has a foreign policy approach. It's not clear that Trump has a foreign policy approach. We know that she's for a ceasefire, both for Gaza as well as for Lebanon, as soon as possible. We know that she will gather up the European countries and the other countries so that they can leverage together to work on the ceasefires. So far, the head of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, has paid attention to no one, not to the American president, not to the European heads of state. So it's been very difficult. But together, we may be able to make some inroads. And I expect that to happen right after the election and after President Harris takes office. She's has a very sophisticated understanding of international policy. I also think that she'll bring a new generation face to foreign policy. We've had the traditional foreign policy leaders for almost 4 generations now. And I think that you'll see some new faces and new energy. And frankly, she is fierce. She's as tough as any politician I've ever met in the United States. And so I'm very hopeful that not only will we be able to protect borders for both Israel as well as Lebanon, as well as move back towards a 2-state solution for the Palestinian people. I'm very hopeful with President Harris. Oh, if there's ever a tough woman running for president, we have one here. And I think she's tough and smart, and she will not put up with any nonsense by anyone. Yeah, I think listen not only to what people say, but what they do. We know what President Trump will do because we saw his administration. With President Harris, we have a new generation leader. I believe with a deep commitment to Lebanon, or I would not be speaking for her, nor would leaders in the Lebanese community. She understands that the massive destruction will require humanitarian aid for shelter and for food. But she also will lead an effort, much like the Marshall Plan that rebuilt Europe, for major resources, organizing the UN countries and particularly the Europeans, for as well as the Arab states, for a major reconstruction program to rebuild these war-torn areas. That's her commitment. And that's the kind of woman she is. Look, we in the Lebanese community have always been matriarchal. We've always had strong women leading us. We've not elected them necessarily all the time, but in this case, I can assure you, we have a very strong woman. And, you know, she doesn't have any Lebanese blood, but she behaves that way. Well, I think that she'll bring a fresh look at American foreign policy. I also believe that she's committed to peace in the Middle East, that she wants to settle the terrible Gaza situation, as well as rebuilding Lebanon, and more importantly, getting humanitarian aid to the Lebanese people. We've contributed a lot, but but most of it has been focused on the Syrians that are in Lebanon. We need to solve that issue as well. And Kamala Harris will bring a kind of sophistication and a human caring. She has a great heart. And I'm telling you, maybe she has a drop of Lebanese blood in her.